Hey, welcome to today's video. My name is Jessie if you do not already know me. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read throughout the month of May. I did want to give a little bit of stats because I've never done this before and I think it's really interesting when people do a little bit of stats at the beginning of their wrap-ups. I have 11 books that I read. 2 of them were novellas. I read 5 romance, 5 fantasy, and then 1 contemporary fiction. And then my average rating was a 3.7. A little bit better than average reading month for me. I thought it was pretty good. Getting right into it, we're going to talk about the first book that I read, and that is Wild Love by Elsie Silber. There are the main characters, Rosie and Ford. Rosie is dealing with something in her life that is bringing her back to her hometown. It's a small town romance. Ford is a billionaire. He has a recording studio in this little small town called Rose Hill. Ford is also Rosie's brother's best friend. And then you're just getting their relationship with each other. This book didn't really have too much of a plot, I would say. You're just getting a lot of scenes with them two together that are budding their romance. I will say that I wish we had gotten so much more with the plot in this. I feel like it was very lacking. There were so many moments that could have been super special that just we weren't shown at all. It was kind of brought up into conversation later on, like a little recap of what had happened. But I think those moments were so important that I wanted to see them. I wanted to experience them with these characters, and we just didn't get that. I didn't care too much for the romance in this one. I liked the characters a lot, but I just didn't feel really a strong connection with them. This book was pretty average for me. I gave it a 3 stars. I just feel like it kind of fell off a little bit. I just wish we had gotten more of a backstory with Ford and Rosie themselves and individually, but unfortunately we did not get that. So I was a little disappointed in this book. Pretty average, but I just wasn't too much of a fan of it. And then we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I will say this is my favorite Abby Jimenez book currently. I've read Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and then this one, so they're all kind of like little interconnected standalone trilogy. This is about Emma and Justin. Justin posts on this Reddit thread that every person he dates ends up breaking up with him and then they go on to find the love of their life. Emma is having the same problem. She sees this Reddit thread and then DMs Justin and says, hey, I'm going through the same thing. Like, why don't we try to go on a few dates and see if we can break each other's curse so that way they can find their soulmates after they break up. Obviously, they grow a connection and they grow their romance. It was just so sweet. I really love the characters in this book. I love the side characters. I loved how we got such a good plot. I feel like this book flowed really well. There was so much happening that just connected itself to each other, and I really liked the layout of this story. I like the concept of the story. I just feel like there were so many moments in here that gave life advice. Very emotional, also funny. I went from laughing to crying many times. I really enjoyed this. I feel like I'm gonna want to read more Abby Jimenez books. If you've read any other books by her, I think she has another interconnected trilogy. If you've read those and you recommend them, please let me know. I don't think I'm too much of a fan of the plot of those ones, but I would still maybe like to give them a try. The only thing with Abby Jimenez books, I feel like her endings get wrapped up so fast. You have that conflict and then the resolution. It all happens like in a very short span of time, page-wise. Like it's just a small chunk, and I would like them to just be elaborated on a little more. Endings are really the only things that I can't give these books 5 stars, but I did give this one a 4.75 because I truly enjoyed it so much, and it was amazing. I highly recommend this, but I recommend reading all 3 of them in order if you have not read any of them yet. She may be an autobiographer for me. I'm excited for future books from her. Then we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is about Daphne and Miles. So Daphne was dating this dude named Peter. They were actually engaged. They broke off their engagement because Peter ended up with his childhood best friend Petra, and Petra is actually Miles's ex. So they all have this crazy connection with each other, and it's wild. Daphne obviously now is not going to live with Peter, so she needs to find a place to live, which she kind of packed up her whole life to go with Peter to Michigan, so she doesn't really have anything for herself here besides Peter. Now that they're not together anymore, she doesn't really know where to go or what to do, and she ends up with Miles. They end up living together, they're roommates, and I think the main thing that I really liked about this romance in this book is that they started out as roommates and friends and then slowly grew their connection with each other and then realized that they liked each other, which I feel like we don't get too much. Like we don't get that true kind of strangers or acquaintances to friends and then to lovers. It's mostly just they start out as friends. So it was really nice to see them not really know each other at all and then grow their friendship and then grow their romance. I really appreciated these 2 characters a lot. I think they were very real and genuine people. I felt like I was reading about real people. Love the setting in this book, set in Michigan. I love like the west side of Michigan. Great side characters, great life advice in this book. I think if you're in your 20s and you don't really know what you want out of life, you're a little lost, or you don't feel like anything is working for you, this book will definitely be something that you will appreciate. I did give this one a 4.5 stars. I didn't really have that 5-star feeling, but it was still very good. And the ending of this one was perfect. I'm not one to kind of think about endings after the book, but man, this one, I will say the last 2 lines, it had me crying. I literally cried a lot. So Yeah, I just have a lot of appreciation for Emily Henry now because her books are so, like, yes, you get the romance, but the story itself is just such a good message about life. Next, we're going into the 2 novellas that I read. First up, I have A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. This is the novella in the Court of something. Dang. This is the novella in the A Court of Mist and... No. ACOTAR. Thorns and Roses, girl. This is the novella in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. There we go. I really enjoyed the whole holiday aspect of this. So we have our main characters. There's quite a different point of views in this book. We have Feyre and Rhys's, which is told in first person, and then we also have a couple other characters, and their point of views are told in third person, which I didn't really like. I wish they were all just told in first person because, I don't know, it was just like, I think it's kind of easing our way into the last book because I know that book is told in third person, if I'm not mistaken, but it was still just weird that we were switching like those point of views. I really like the whole aspect of this because they're spending a holiday with each other. You kind of get just the moments with them where they're buying each other presents and they're having this holiday time together. It was really sweet. But then some of the chapters in the beginning, we were getting kind of a continuation of the plot in the series, which is fine, but it was just weird that it was such a small moment of this book. It's like, okay, like here's something that is continuing the plot of what had happened, but then it's just like a lighthearted read about them spending holiday together. It was just weird for me that both of those aspects were in this book. I wish it was just focused on them spending the holiday together because it was sweet. They're like a nice little found family. I do appreciate these characters. I just find myself not really caring about this story anymore. So I gave this one 3 stars. Wasn't too crazy, wasn't bad. I just didn't really care for it. And then the next novella was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. Whew, I need a minute for this one because holy crap. This book is following Adina. In Powerless, the first book, we get Peyton's point of view, but Peyton has her best friend Adina. And Adina is the most wholesome, sweet, caring friend and girl in the entire world. She's such a little sweetheart and I love her so much. We are following Adina's time in this book as Peyton is at the kingdom doing her trials. So you're kind of finding out what Adina was doing as Peyton was over there. And then this is just her little like love story. So we get her and then we get introduced to this new character named Mac, and I really enjoyed him. I feel like he's gotta pop up in the next book because there's something there with him, like we gotta know. I love Lauren Roberts' writing so much. I have tabs in this one, which tabbing a novella, kind of crazy, but like I said, I love her writing. I had planned to read a little bit of this and then pick it up the next day because it was kind of like getting late when I started this book. Did I finish it all in one sitting? Yes, I did. Yes, I sat my butt in my bed and I read this in one sitting and I cried my eyes out at the end of it. So that was fun. 5 stars. And that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to give too much away on Adina, but like, please read Powerless. Go into Powerless knowing that it's more focused on romance and not super fantasy or fantasy plot. The more time I spend after reading Powerless and Powerful, I love them even more. And I don't know what it is. I didn't even rate Powerless 5 stars, but at this point I feel like I have to because of how much I think about it. The last thing I want to say about this is that I really enjoyed the fact that we were getting a different point of view of Adina's situation that took place in Powerless because we have Mac in here, so we're getting his view on Adina's story. And I think it was so interesting because in Powerless we got Peyton's view of the situation that happened, and in this one we're getting Mac's. And I think that was really well done. I really like that we got that. Beautiful, 5 stars. Thank you, Lauren Roberts. Now we have Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. This is the second book in the Blood of Stars duology. This is a YA fantasy. So this duology is basically about Maya, who is this young girl. Her father has fallen ill. He has a lot of issues going on with him. He's getting old. Maya disguises as her brother because people from the kingdom come to her home and kind of summon her father to do this trial competition with these 12 different guys to become the imperial tailor. Maya has always sewn her whole life, which women sewing and tailoring and seamstressing, if that's a word, is frowned upon. Only men are supposed to do it. Her father can't go, which next in line, her brother should be going. He was in a war, he has issues, he can't go either. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pull a Mulan and I'm gonna disguise as my brother and I'm gonna go in his place. So she goes to the kingdom, starts doing this trial. She goes on an adventure in the first book, which is crazy. She has something happen to her and she's continuing to deal with that throughout this book. So this book is mainly just focused on the war aspect that comes after everything that happened in the first book. I did enjoy this a lot. I gave it a 3.75. I just feel like I was kind of getting a little disconnected from the story. I found myself just not really caring as much as I did in the first one. That's the only issue that I had with this. I didn't feel too much for it, but it was still very good. I love this author's writing. It's so like whimsical. I love the magic that she writes. And then we had In the Weeds by B.K. Borison. This is the second book in the Love Light Farms series. The spring book, Love Light Farms, was the winter book. Both of the characters in this one we met in the first book. So Beckett is the guy that was working on the farm, and then Evelyn is the girl that she's a social media influencer. She finds finds small businesses. She like posts about them to help their business grow, which is so sweet. Like I literally love that so much, especially because I have a small business and it's just, I don't know, she's such a sweet girl. I will say though, I didn't really like her character in the first one just because of what she did and kind of how she acted about a situation, but I grew to love her in this one, and Beckett I just liked even more. I loved him in the first one. But Evelyn and Beckett kind of had a two-night stand thing, and then they drifted apart and didn't talk to each other afterwards. When Evelyn went back in the first book, they obviously see each other again, so she kind of freaks out, and that's where like the part where I didn't really like her because of how she handled that situation. But now in this one, she's kind of realizing that she doesn't want to spend too much time on social media anymore. She just needs this break from it. She's trying to find herself again and what she really loves. She's trying to find her happy, basically. She and Beckett end up having more time together, and I just really enjoy them. Beckett is also such a wholesome person. In the first book, there were, I think, like 4 kittens that popped up on the farm. Beckett adopts them. He's got like a duck in this one, and he's like, I don't want all these animals, but he just knows that he needs to adopt them because he's that type of person. He is someone who gets like very overstimulated with loud noises and in crowded places and stuff. Evelyn, so good to him in that situation. She knows how to help him and do little things that will help him. And reading about that just made me want to cry, because just having someone know what you're going through without telling them, and just having someone know how to make a situation better for you without having to explain to them is so beautiful. When I first finished this, I rated it a 3.75. Now I feel like I have to give it a 4. Like it's such a strong 4 now that I'm talking about it. If you have not read that series yet, or if you want to, I would completely recommend reading Love Lake Farms first before you get into this one. I'm so excited for the next one because it's going to be a summer book. I'm going to talk about these two together because it is the second and third book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So I have Siege and Storm, which is book 2, and then Ruin and Rising, which is book 3. These two books follow our main character Alina. She kind of discovers that she has this power that she never knew she had, and then there is this Darkling guy that wants to help her with her power and help her make her stronger, kind of understand what her power truly is. So he takes her to his little kingdom. There's just a lot of twists and turns, a lot of people who you're wondering if you can trust or not, and I really like that aspect of this whole series. I love the concept of this story, but I just didn't get what I wanted out of it. I didn't feel like there was enough meat to these stories, I guess, if you will. I don't know, I just feel like they were very surface level and there could have been so much more. Things happened so fast and we didn't get a whole bunch of details about situations. I think it could have been such a great long series if we had gotten more explanation on a lot of things, but it really wasn't. It was very fast. Siege and Storm I gave 3 stars, and Ruin and Rising I gave 2 stars. I gave this one 3 stars because we met a new character named Nikolai. 3 stars for Nikolai. I loved him. I would actually really enjoy a book on him and his story. But yeah, I don't know, I wasn't really a fan of these. I just feel like they fell very flat for me, and I was a little sad that I didn't like him as much as I thought I would. But I'm very excited for 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom because I think I will definitely like that one better. Now we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book is just like a contemporary fiction, literary fiction. I do want to show you my tabs because I think they are so beautiful. I have an ombre type thing going on here. I matched the covers, and at first I was like, I really hope I want to tab a lot in this book because I want this to work out, and I did. I literally wanted to tab so much in here. We're following our main characters, Sadie and Sam. They both love video games. They've loved video games their whole life. And they meet in a hospital. So Sadie's sister is in the hospital and Sam is in the hospital himself. He dealt with this huge thing in his life. They meet in the game room. They're the only 2 people in there. They start playing games together and talking about games and why they love them so much. And then something happens with them. Sam thinks that Sadie did something that wasn't true. So they kind of lose their friendship. They don't see each other for a while. They do end up seeing each other back in the train station in New York now. They both go to college there. And from there, they kind of rekindle their friendship a little bit and they start developing video games together. I just really thought it was interesting. There's not too much of a strong plot with this one. You're basically just following their stories and their life journeys, but it was so well done that you just wanted to keep reading about them. It really felt like such a true story. There's other characters that come in, and I just feel like this was such a good representation of life. I really enjoyed it. There were so many things in here that I took in for my life and that I want to kind of sit with and think about for myself, because this book is basically about the choices that you make in life and where they take you. Like, you have certain people in your life, and should you keep them in your life or should you not? Pretty much every concept about life and your relationships that you form with people, no matter what type of relationship it is. This book just had that and had great depictions of that, in my opinion. So I truly felt very connected to this book. I feel like it was very comforting, even though it was very emotional. It was kind of taxing to the mind because for me, I get like freaked out when books take place over a long period of someone's life. Like, we met them when they were very young by the end of the book, they've lived their young lives, and that freaks me out because I don't want to think about my future and I don't want to think about myself when I'm older. So any book that has that sort of timeline is gonna freak me out a little bit, but this one, I really do think it was represented in such a great way that makes you think about your life and just helps you kind of sit back, know that the choices that you make, they're gonna impact your life no matter what. Are you making choices that you are going to appreciate? Are you really going to love the life that you are creating for yourself? I feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but basically this book was good. I gave it a 5 stars. Read this if you have not already. I can understand why people don't like this. If you're not connected to the characters and what they're doing, you're probably gonna hate it. I'm gonna be so honest with you, but I literally loved it. I love the whole video game aspect. I love them and them going through their lives and the decisions they were making. They had such realistic feelings, like back and forth. It can be frustrating, but everybody deals with that in their life, you know? Like, you're not gonna make 100% good decisions all the time with yourself and with other people. It's literally life. And I liked it a lot. Moving on to our very last book that I read in May was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This one is about Emmy and Luke. Emmy was living in Denver. She's a barrel racer. She rides horses. She had an injury. She had to move back to her small town in Wyoming. She doesn't tell anybody why she's back, so nobody really knows what actually happened to her. We have Emmy and Teddy. They're best friends. So once Emmy goes back to her small town, she meets up with Teddy. They go to this bar. Luke is the owner of that bar, and then he kind of teases her that first night because he sees her again for the first time in a long time. And then they kind of just have like this instant attraction to each other, but it is a little bit of a slow burn. I did like their romance with each other. I just feel like it happened very fast, even though it was a slow burn, just because this was a small book and there wasn't too much to it. I really would have liked this to be a lot longer. I love the vibes of this book. I do think it was, dare I say, I think it was more cowboy ranch-esque vibes than Chestnut Springs. I feel like a lot of people have the opposite thought on that, but personally I think because this was more focused on horses and she's racing and you're seeing more with the horses in this book than you ever do in Chestnut Springs, because Chestnut Springs is more based on like bull riding. But if you truly want horse kind of ranch vibes, then I would go with this series. The only thing I will say is that I wasn't too much of a fan of the writing in this one. I feel like it was just a little bland. I really enjoyed the vibes that I was getting as I was reading this, but plot wise there was really nothing. It had a lot of potential for there to be a good heart-wrenching story, an emotional story, and it just wasn't in there. It was more quickly focused on their romance, which is fine. I think it's why I still want to continue this series, because it was such a quick romance read. But I think it really could have impacted me if we had gotten more and the story was longer itself. When we were dealing with Emmy's injury and kind of finding out what had happened, it also connected with something in her past that would have been so nice to see. Wish we had gotten a flashback chapter of when her injury was happening. Not that I'm not saying I want her to get hurt or injured, right? But I feel like story-wise and impact-wise, it would have been so nice to go back and see her emotions as the injury was happening and how her whole situation went out, because of how it connected with something that had happened in her past. But we never got that. There really wasn't too much on why she came back to her hometown. We knew the reason. We ended up finding out the reason. But it just would have been so much better if we had gotten more from that. And that's what I wanted. I will continue this series, but I just didn't really connect with the writing and I really wanted more to this story, basically. So I did give this a 2.5 stars. I wanted to keep reading, but I just think writing-wise, I can't give it more than a 3. I think it's going to be a good series, but I want more and I can't get past that. Those are all the books that I read in May. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for sitting here and listening to me ramble on about books. If you read any books in May, let me know which one was your favorite. And if you've read any of these, let me know what you thought about them or what is your favorite out of these if you have read them. But that is it for this video. I will see you guys in my next video, whatever that may be. I hope you have a great day or a great night wherever you are, and I will see you later. Bye.